Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Big Purple Blob podcast. I am Susie Church Brown. I am a health and wellness coach, and I am here today with a friend of mine. And oddly enough, we actually live in the same city, so we could have done this in person, but it's so much easier to record via Zoom. That's what we're doing. So I'm here with my friend and menopause coach, Michelle. Michelle, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, Susie. Thank you for having me. My name is Michelle Hervy, and I have just recently entered the world of menopause coaching and also awareness in our community of just getting the word out there and trying to create a menopause community in our host country right now, which is Sri Lanka. Having had my own journey for the past few years, and wanting to just get the message out there and just say it's okay to talk and try and help point people in the right direction in a country that might not be their home or is their home for a temporary period of time. Because all over the world, every single country seems to have different medications and attitudes and medical training towards the one thing that holds every single woman together, which is going through menopause. So yes, that's me.
Well, I am very happy to have you here. So about a year or so ago, we did a podcast with Shoroya and myself and a menopause coach who is posted stateside. Also, her interest was stemming from her particular journey. And I love that in the last little bit, in the last few weeks, last 6 months or so, there's honestly been an explosion of articles and studies and celebrities highlighting their passing into perimenopause and the experiences the symptoms they're experiencing. And it's really nice that we have this opportunity to have a conversation, and it's feeling less and less taboo.
Absolutely. I think you're right. It's sort of the last sort of 2 or 3 years. I remember, having hit it myself earlier than average. So it was like 41. And I didn't really have any conversations around it. This was sort of 5 years ago. And it was just coming into the limelight, so to speak, in the UK. And there was a couple of celebrities of that age who were really sort of pushing it forward. But it wasn't huge yet. Over the last sort of 2 or 3 years, become absolutely crazy is the wrong word to use, I think. But there's just been a mass flooding of just conversation and support and real pushes, especially in the UK, for the medical profession to raise the game, maybe, in terms of supporting that huge percentage of the world's population going through these hormonal imbalances that can really have some quite significant impacts on health and well-being, mental and physical. So it's been really good over the last couple of years to be in a position to do research and find out so much more that I really wish had been available to me 5 years ago.
Yeah, I hear you. I totally hear you. I feel like, especially because there's a set of symptoms, there's like 30 some symptoms that might be associated with perimenopause, right? And what I experience is very different than what you might experience, which is very different from the next woman over. And it is just so hard not to feel like you are going literally crazy, because it's like, and some of the symptoms you're not even aware are actually associated with peri or menopause.
Absolutely. I think everybody, it doesn't matter who you speak to. I think every single person you talk to knows about hot flushes or flashes, whatever you want to call it. But beyond that, I don't think anybody could really, unless you've done a lot of research or you are a medical professional in that field, could really list all of them. And on my journey over the past, there's that word, journey, on my journey over the sort of past 12 months, I don't think I've spoken to one woman who's had the same symptoms, either collectively or individually, as the next person. And sometimes they didn't even realize, well, not even sometimes, a lot of the time you don't even realize. For myself, it was crushing anxiety and a massive dip in confidence, which it inevitably made me quit my job, which now I look back and I think, wow, you know, not one person, not one medical professional or anybody that I spoke to made me aware that anxiety and that lack of confidence could possibly be a menopause symptom. I have a friend who had terrible tinnitus, which is that ringing in the ear, for sort of almost 12 months. And not one doctor, even though she was 45, 46 years old, said to her that could be, you know, a menopausal symptom. And she then got different menopausal symptoms, got prescribed HRT, the tinnitus gone. Like, and then, you know, further down the line, it was, you know, explained that actually could have been part of this hormonal imbalance. But for a year, she suffered so badly from this ringing in the ears and this dizziness that she couldn't leave the house sometimes. And so it's so many different stories and different symptoms that it's really hard to get a grip on it. But it's kind of my number one piece of advice for anybody that thinks they might be going through menopause or who could possibly be approaching it is do that research, be prepared, and try and get some knowledge into your life that sort of makes you think, I'm approaching that age. I hear hooves. It's probably horses, not zebras. You know, like, am I, my periods are irregular? Am I getting headaches? Am I tired? Am I moody? I think other people in your life can quite often be the ones that point that one out to you. My husband will tell anybody that's listening. But all of those extra symptoms that you maybe pre-menopausal awareness wouldn't even think of. And having spoken to many women now who haven't hit menopause or perimenopause yet, but are now like, wow, like now I know what I'm kind of looking out for and what age I'm going to hit it, at least I can do that research. And again, the alleviation of those symptoms is different for everybody as well. Some people want to do HRT or MHT, the hormone medications. Some people don't. Some people go the supplement route, you know, and all of the different wellnesses. Everybody's symptoms will be different, and everybody's alleviation of those symptoms will be different as well. But just that number one is do some research, go online, speak to a doctor, speak to your family, your friends, you know, anybody that you think might be able to help. Get that knowledge inside of you on how the hormones work and what's going to happen to your body in the next sort of 10 years is a huge tip.
I think going through perimenopause and menopause, I think, is one of the life situations where basically you're forced to live by your body's rules. Like your body is dictating to you what it needs and what you will do. And it's so important to be able to be self-aware enough to listen. I mean, part of that is, as you said, like be aware of the symptoms, know what you may or may not be experiencing. Is there some sort of, like if your mom went through menopause a particular time or a particular way, does that relate to what you might be experiencing?
So mine was very different to my mum's after having spoken to my mum. We both get the hot flashes, I have to say, hot flashes. She had awful ones though. Mine aren't that bad. I get them a lot when I'm not taking my medication, and I can tell you, like, the minute I change a medication or I stop taking it, within hours, I can tell you, there you go, there's a hot flush for me. Whereas my mum is now in her 70s and she still gets them. But she gets one or two a week, and she's, you know, like head to toe, just dripping. And so she's still, everybody knows my mum because you can hear this little mini electric fan going when she so she has this or she has a large collection of the paper, you know, the open out fans as well. If you hear a fan, you can pretty much hear my mum coming. But no, she didn't suffer very much from anything else. But she was huge on the hot flashes. Whereas mine, I would say, outside of that, I had a huge anxiety and sort of lack of confidence and brain fog, like inability. I mean, I talked about it before we started recording, but my inability sometimes to string a sentence together and remember somebody's name is the complete opposite of how I've lived my life. I've always been eloquent, and I had the memory of an elephant, and I could remember names and dates and kids' names and jobs and addresses and telephone numbers. And now you could introduce me to someone in the morning and I would have forgotten nearly everything about it by the afternoon. And that is another one of those ones that can really sort of make women think that they're going completely crazy, or that early onset dementia, which, after having done all my research, is incredibly rare to go through before the age of 60, 65. So that's another case of a horse versus a zebra. I mean, you have to rule out the zebras, but if you're in that age range and there's a list of symptoms that you're checking and you're hitting a couple of them, the chances are it's the horse, not the zebra. But you go and you check it out and you speak to someone.
So, not that I would ever encourage anyone to self-diagnose and then treat themselves with the advice that you are about to bestow upon us. But what would you say to a woman that comes to you and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm struggling and suffering so much. I am deeply unhappy. What can I do to help myself?
So outside of looking into your own sort of symptoms and speaking to a medical professional, there's tons of self-care and different types of exercise and the different types of diet that are extremely influential on your hormones, essentially, which is what perimenopause and menopause is that imbalance of your estrogen, your progesterone, and many other hormones that sort of fluctuate in that time period. And there's supplements and there's diet, and we can go through many of them. So I think that the first one is, you hear a lot of people talk about those mood swings and your stress levels. And the reason why, when you're going through that perimenopause and those hormone imbalances, is that your stress triggers are even more sensitive than ever, is because your estrogen and your progesterone are linked with that cortisol. And so if you are not producing enough estrogen and your cortisol kind of kicks in a bit harder and has to kicks you into sort of that fight or flight mode, so produces more of that cortisol, and so your stress reactions are stronger than they normally would be, and so you are more stressed, and so you need to work on how you react to those stresses. So you need to know what your stress triggers are, and it's really that time of life where you have to start saying to yourself, it's my turn now. Yeah, I'm a woman and I've gone through life, and maybe you've had kids, maybe you didn't, maybe you have a partner, maybe you don't, but at the end of the day, you kind of been working through this whole life with all of these hormones, hopefully working nicely with each other, and now they're not. And it shouldn't be an excuse to look after yourself and de-stress yourself. You should try and do that throughout your whole life, but it's even more important in that menopausal stage, or when you start to hit and move into perimenopause. So anything that you can do, and again, this is what we talked about, the individual's journey. I find it incredibly irritating and frustrating to do meditation and breath work. I can't. One day maybe I'll get it, but I can't. But like, I take a bath is my big one, or I go swimming. A lot of people do what we call relaxing exercises, but it's still quite tough on your body, is the yoga and Pilates, where you are sort of gently moving your body, but also creating the right mood and taking away the stress of the day. And it's anything, it's getting out in nature, it's taking some walks, it's just talking and looking after yourself, is that those stress relievers, whatever it is that you need to do. Take yourself into a dark room, just shut your eyes, tell everybody they're not allowed to say your name for 20 minutes. Anything that you can do on a daily basis that just takes you down a level into the non-stress mode, if you can do that, then I would highly recommend any activity that de-stresses you. And again, Susie, you probably do something completely different to me to de-stress. I don't know. But yeah, I think that's why it's super important in that stage of life to really start looking what triggers you to hit that stressful period in your life, in your day.
For me, that stress, like controlling my stress and trying to keep a much more even keel, is what helped me reduce the number and intensity of the hot flashes I had. That was the only thing that would help.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It's a lot of the time, again, it's all of those hormones working in sort of conjunction with each other, because no hormone works by itself, right? One is a precursor to another, which then links to another, and that's what makes the body work in its wonderful way. And you know, if your cortisol is stealing from your other already depleting hormone levels, you know, it can link to the other symptoms being stronger. So once you hit those stress levels, then it can amplify your menopausal symptoms. And that's why, again, why it's really important. And that's why, if you can, so much easier said than done, right? Just reduce your stress.
Right. Just be less stressed, no problem.
Easy. But yeah, you know, those are the triggers that then push you into that stress mode, and it's a circle. It's a vicious cycle, because they all pull from each other, and your body starts to collapse underneath you under the stress.
The vicious circle. Yeah. What else do you have for us?
So I think another huge one, and again, all of these are, you know, way easier said than done, but is your diet, that you're fueling your body. I think, you know, I have been very lucky in my life. I mean, I've been overweight and I've been, you know, healthy weights, and I've been sporty and I've been not, but I've never really had an issue with food. Nothing's ever made me feel sick. Nothing, you know, nothing's ever really, I've never really disagreed with me. But, and so for me now, fueling my body, I'm really putting a lot more effort into it. I don't always follow my own rules, but it's really, really important to fuel your body in the right way, especially, and it can have a big impact on sort of your hormone productions and those balances and those imbalances that you are going through. And the biggest one is sort of not low fat. Don't cut too much stuff out that's sort of natural and good for you. And they say, after all the research that I've been looking at, and I'm currently looking at a nutritional qualification, is what they call a Mediterranean diet. And that's your olive oils and your good fats, your omega-3. So all of those nuts and seeds, whole grains, cruciferous vegetables, all push your body to be producing the right amount of hormone levels, and can actually counterbalance some of those reductions depending on what your body is going through. Because your body starts to produce your estrogen in a different part of your body once you go through menopause. So before menopause, it's produced in your ovaries. And then as you're going through menopause and postmenopausally, it's produced by your adrenal glands, and it is fueled by fat. So good news for us perimenopausal women is, do not follow a low fat diet, but follow a good fat diet. And you need your fats. The things that you do need to, unfortunately, maybe cut back on a bit more is all of those processed foods, because they're not good for your liver. And your liver, again, is so important for your gut health and your body health during menopause, because it also gets rid of the excess estrogen. So if you are suffering from estrogen dominance, your liver will be pushed to the limit, because it needs to get rid of your excess estrogen. And if it can't do that, then it's basically then classed as a toxin and goes back into your body and can make you feel sluggish and tired, and it's not great. So your liver really needs to be on top form. So cutting down, maybe not cutting out completely, depends on your body. If you suffer from liver problems anyway, this is the time to really kickstart your liver care. but you know, cutting back on the alcohol, the caffeine, and all of those processed foods will help your liver function much better to get rid of any excess hormones and any imbalances that you have, especially with the estrogen. And if you push it too hard, it won't work properly. So, and also hydrate. Like, you couldn't be more important to drink a lot of water, especially if you're in an overseas country, which is hot and humid, which I know a lot of the listeners probably are in different climates.
Well, and different from home climate too. So
yeah,
your skin and body aren't used to it.
yes, Sri Lanka is definitely not English weather for me.
That's true.
At my water levels, I think I need to overcompensate some days. So yeah, so that's from a food perspective. The other elements is that, you know, high fiber is really good. Again, if you, for want of a better word, if you're constipated or you don't go to the bathroom very easily, again, your liver can be stressed from that as well, and again, that can lead to it not being able to cope with the excess estrogen sometimes that we have in our bodies. And then if you want to help balance out some of your estrogens as well, or if you are suffering from low estrogen levels, flax seeds are, I cannot read this enough. It seems to be in every single piece of training, research, and education module that I look at is flax seeds have a massive, the biggest amount of lignans, which is kind of a natural form of an estrogen, and phytoestrogen, and it kind of helps balance out those estrogen deficiencies in the body. So you can take sort of 1 to 2 tablespoons crushed up. They don't really taste of anything. They're also called linseeds, I think, in the UK. We don't call them flax seeds, which was why I was like, what are these? But I know them as linseeds. I put them in protein bowls and cereal bars, and you can sprinkle them on your yogurt. They don't really taste when you put them in smoothies. And that is, it's great in reducing cholesterol levels, but also helping to balance out some of those estrogen deficiencies as well. So I think those are a big one for anyone's shopping list if they're available in the host countries. I know here you can get them everywhere, and they're cheap.
They are cheap.
They are good. So it's a benefit here. And then I'm seeing different advice a lot on soy foods, but the majority seems to be that soy is a very good form of protein that you need to be taking in. So high protein is also really good, because the protein, not only does it have the fats and the good stuff in there, but also it helps with your muscle mass, which is another thing that sort of tends to start dropping off a little bit quicker than it used to once you start to hit perimenopause. And it's really important to keep your muscles and your bones strong. So high protein, and if you're a vegetarian, then soy is, especially organic soy, is probably better than regular soy, but as long as it's not processed soy product, and it's a natural soy tofu, etc., and things like that. And then the other thing that you want to kind of avoid putting, not necessarily putting in your body, but breathing in, essentially, is I've been doing a lot of research on endocrine disrupting chemicals. I don't know if you're aware of anything like that, but things like synthetic fragrances, and anything like scented candles, all of those perfumes, you breathe in those synthetic smells, and they have chemicals in there that can really start to, well, I mean, at any age, they're not good for your hormones, but once your hormones start to go into imbalance, then they're called phthalates. I can't say it properly, but they have a significant impact on your hormone balance as well, and they can really sort of have a negative effect on you. And so it's not to say don't have anything that's got a fake smell in it, but if you are going to swap out anything in the home, maybe start to look at anything that has essential oils in it rather than the synthetic fragrances and smell. Much better for you, and you're not breathing in those hormone disrupting chemicals.
So is it the same for like perfumes and stuff too that people wear?
Perfumes, anything, air fresheners, shampoos, anything that has a synthetic fragrance to it is probably that isn't sort of got the base of essential oils will have these endocrine disrupting chemicals in there. And so it's a good idea to try and start just swapping them out. It doesn't mean go through your whole house and like get rid of everything with a smell in it, but there's a lot of research now to say that it's one of the big ones, along with BPA and sort of your non-stick pans. The fake fragrances is one of the things that is starting to come out as really not good for because you breathe it in as well. You're not ingesting it or anything, and there's nothing filtering that out from the toxins, and it's going straight through your lungs into your bloodstream.
Interesting.
So, yeah, it was a new one for me over the past few months, but I'm reading it more and more places now. So,
wow. Okay. So you're helping us eat healthier. You're helping us stay active. You're helping us reduce our stress. We're smelling better.
Yeah, go for the essential oils. Maybe a bit more expensive, but much better for your body. And speaking of body, move. Exercise, I think, is just the key to, the fountain of youth. Once you start moving into sort of this age. And I think a lot of people, and I think somebody mentioned it in the last podcast that you did, the conversation last year was excessive cardio is probably not the best idea anymore for sort of if you're in that perimenopause and menopause, postmenopausal stage. Is anything de-stressing, like we talked about before, walks in nature, yoga, Pilates, really good. They strengthen your body and they get you moving and they can de-stress you. Other ones that are probably something to consider and are much more beneficial than just regular cardio is weight-bearing exercises. So things like tennis, racket sports, dancing, anything where you're moving direction and just putting a little bit of pressure on your bones. A lot of women become very prone to osteoporosis once they hit perimenopause and menopause and move into that stage of life or that age. Your bone, and a lot of women don't realize they have osteoporosis until they break it, and it doesn't break, it shatters. And it's really hard to fix a shattered bone, and the recovery time is long. So anything that you can do to sort of help your bones is really good. And then the other one that I've been doing a lot of research on is strength training. So not just toning or sculpting, like lifting proper heavy weights. And when I say proper, it's just not just sort of like keeping the muscles toned. We lose, I'm gonna remember this statistic, it's about 8% of our muscle mass from sort of the age 30 every 10 years. So by the time you sort of hit 50, 55, you've lost about 20% of your strength if you haven't been doing strength exercises. And your muscles are kind of, they're key to everything. Yeah. So if you have a greater muscle mass and lean tissue, it helps your blood sugar levels, which can be impacted by all these hormone imbalances. It helps your metabolism. You get less inflammation, and it really, it's all of the research now is showing that it's much more beneficial to lift sort of really quite heavy weights and build muscle rather than just toning what you've got, because you're toning what you've got, not replacing what you've lost. And muscle is one of those things that you can build back up again in the right way. So you can, it's one of those things, it's really hard to bring back that skin sag, but without surgery, but you can build the muscle back up in your body with the right exercise. So if you are wanting to do something like that, again, do some research, maybe speak to a trainer or speak to other people that do it. And that's really beneficial. Don't overdo it. Don't immediately go from no exercise to I'm going to bench press 150 pounds in the gym. Approach it steadily and then gradually, but build yourself up to working on that muscle. Don't be a frail old lady. You don't need to be.
Well, I especially like your advice to have a trainer or something, because it can be really intimidating unless you've been regularly exercising, regularly lifting weights, etc. But it's intimidating to go into a gym and look at all those plates and machines and sweaty people and not really know like even where to start. So a professional is a very good way to start.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wouldn't even attempt it without speaking to somebody first, and, you know, knowing which muscles it is that you need to build up, and or, you know, which way you're supposed to hold these barbells that go up, down, right, left. And, you know, you can really hurt yourself, but be sensible. And again, you know, it's all about your own journey. If that's what you want to do, then that's what you want to do. You can't, nobody can expect everybody to do everything. This is just kind of a, you know, there's not a one size fits all for everybody. You have to listen to your body, I think, is what you've already said, is you know your own body, what you can do, what you can't do, and you know what you're going to be able to motivate yourself to do as well.
Right.
But if you can, but if you can do anything, you know, it's just rethink maybe what you're doing right now. Also, HIIT is really good, that resistance training, and, you know, that also works greatly towards sort of keeping and building that muscle mass as well. Also,
I am in particular a fan of HIIT, so
I know I am not, and we are different. And also, you know, when you're moving your body and exercising, then it also will help with my next bit, which is your sleep pattern. I think another massive symptom of women going into menopause is, for some, they don't really understand why they're waking up in the middle of the night, or they're not able to get to sleep. And they don't realize that this hormone imbalance is also triggering lots of different messages to their brain to say, wake up, lie down, go to sleep, eat something. Oh, I'm hot. Oh, okay, I'm sweating. Okay, now I need to wake up now. Okay, now you're tired. Oh, but you know, this hormone imbalance is now telling you that you're hungry because you woke up in the middle of the night and you're tired. So you need to eat something before you go back to bed. And we're all over the place. But now at this age, it's, you know, sleep is more important than ever, because your sleep helps your liver detoxify at the end of the night and regenerate. It helps your hormone levels like get back to normal, so that you can wake up with the right amount of cortisol in the morning, so that you're not feeling, you know, crazy. But again, it's a bit like that stress. It's like, well, you need to sleep better. How do I do that? You must sleep better. And again, everybody is different, and everybody has different setups in their bedroom and different routines, but find something that works for you. And there's many different things that you can try. I think that the law of sort of the generalization that I've seen in all of my research is try and stick to a bedtime or a sleep time that kind of is similar every night. You know, don't go to bed at 8 o'clock one night, midnight the next. Really try and get into a routine where your body knows at that sort of time of day, this is when we're going to go and try and go to sleep. You kind of like put yourself back to being a 7-year-old when your mum used to put you to bed and say, now it's time to go to sleep. You know, be strict with yourself. There's a few, again, avoid those alcohols and processed foods and caffeines. I think that everybody knows that, but they're not great. They might be great, like alcohol might be great to get you to sleep, but it definitely doesn't help you stay asleep. And you need that sort of, you know, good chunk of sleep to really regenerate and get your body going again for the next day. Even one night of sleep missed can really have an impact on your liver and its ability to detoxify. So if you're really struggling every night, your body is going to really struggle to manage what you're putting in it the next day, and getting rid of all the toxins that are around you all the time, not just the ones you put in your body. So sleep is really important. Some people like to listen to meditation recordings or relaxation recordings. There's so many out there now that you can get. There's apps like Headway and Calm that have them all on there. And there's some really good ones out there. I know a lot of people that listen to something just for that 15, 20 minutes, and it takes them away and really helps them to relax. dark rooms, turn off your TV light, and try and have your phone away from you. Not necessarily have to be out of the room, but put it on airplane mode, or, you know, take away those signals and the ability for it to light up in the middle of the night, because even those tiny things can trigger you waking up. If you are going to eat before you go to bed, make sure it's kind of like protein rich with some good stuff in it, like apple, peanut butter, you know, a piece of whole grain toast. But stay away from sort of like the processed carbs and the processed sugars and anything like that, because they're just going to kick your blood sugars into the wrong space for you to be able to relax. And then again, you know, if you are somebody that wakes up with the night sweats and the hot flushes, really try and identify something that helps, so that if you do wake up, you can, you know, you can self-soothe, for want of a better word. Because in the middle of the night, there's no one else there to help you apart from yourself, unless you nudge the person sleeping next to you. And I don't think they'll be too happy about that. So yeah, so sleep and trying to get that, you know, that balance of sleep is really important. It's one I've struggled with as well, because I was always a 4 or 5 hours a night kind of person and always functioned quite well on it. And
Wow.
now, you know, and I never woke up in the night. And now I'm like, every so often, like every 2 or 3 days, boom, 2 o'clock, there I am, wide awake. So I'm really trying to figure my own sleep routine out at the moment, and what works for me and what doesn't.
Your sleep is so important. I mean, to get over the day before, as you said, cleanse the various organs, but also, like, if you don't get enough sleep, you're more stressed, you're more emotional, you're obviously fatigued, and so exercise. And so it's like, again, that vicious circle that we keep talking about.
It's that cycle, and it's, you know, again, it's that self-awareness. It's like, I know why, and it's having that wherewithal and that that stimulus to be sort of, I've got to do something, because it's in your power. So, you know, you can sit there and go, oh, woe is me, I've got these hot flushes, and, you know, I don't know what to do about them. But there is many things that you can try and help yourself with. And not that people say, oh, woe is me, but, you know, same with anything in life, is, you know, it's in your control to at least sort of look at what's happening with your body. And I think it's even more important now, when you hit this wonderful stage of female life, to be aware of it and take control of your own body, and
Right.
do the right thing by yourself. Treat your body, not your brain.
I read something somewhere where menopause is not a mental issue. And I mean, that really resonated with me, because unfortunately it's often treated as such, because, you know,
Yeah.
well, you must be depressed. Oh, well, just get over it. It's just all in your head. And it's like, it actually is not just in my head.
No, and I think that's what's wonderful about all the conversations now is, and especially sort of doing my own research and speaking to so many women, is that not one of them has come out of the conversation without saying, it's so nice to talk and realize that it's not all in my head. I don't have to grin and bear it. I don't have to keep calm and carry on. I will keep calm and carry on, and I will grin and bear it. But I also now know that there's so many things that I can do to make myself feel better. And whether it's fueling stuff, eating stuff, moving your body, you know, recreating the environment that you sleep in, all of those things will appease some of those symptoms, but also talking to other women and other people, and, you know, medical professionals, and, you know, alternative to medical professionals will also be able to help as well. And finding what works for you is so much better now, because you've got so many people who are happy to have that and give you the advice or the recommendations. You've just got to go out and try and get the ones for you.
Well, I really appreciate that. We had a session, I don't even know how many, a couple weeks ago, we had a session where Michelle hosted a number of women, where I mean, it was about information sharing, absolutely, but also just about building community and having a conversation with people who understand where we're coming from and what we're going through, and just that it is so important. I say this all the time about pretty much every issue, but it's so important to find people to connect with who are going through similar situations, or who you can talk to, so you realize that you're not alone and you are 100% in good community, and you can find help, and you can find someone to have a conversation with, because sometimes that's the starting point to finding help for yourself.
Yeah, and then sometimes that's all one person would need. They might not choose to do anything else, but that regular conversation just about it eases the mind, de-stresses the brain, and creates that sense of, I'm okay, like it's fine. Whereas without it, they could completely fall off a cliff like I did.
You don't want that.
But there is there's I don't know if you've heard of it, Susie. There's an online and in-person, it's called Menopause Cafe. They have them in the UK. They've started to have them in the States now. And it's a charitable organization, and anybody can be a host of one. They just need to join up, and you can join them online. Businesses have them, universities have them for their staff, or you can just have them in a cafe. And there's no agenda. It is literally just people meeting up to chat and talk and discuss and go through whatever it is that they want to do. And they're wonderful. Like, I've only been to an online one because I didn't have any here yet, but I'm hopefully going to try and start one up here. I just need to get the go ahead to use their name and a place to but it should be fine. But more and more countries are signing up now, and it's a great start. So if anybody, even if you don't want to leave the house, you can still go online and chat with other women and talk about it as well.
Well, in our last couple of minutes, what would you like to share? I mean, you are still setting up your website, so we'll include that as a note once you have it up. What else? How can we help people reach you? How can we help people?
Anybody wants to email me, they can. I'll give you my email address. I've just set up my business one and I cannot find it now, but
we'll include it in the notes.
We'll include it in the notes. It's Life on Pause, and then I think it's Life on Pause 76, which is the year I was born. And I'll just double check the spelling of it and I'll send it to you. I think what I'd love to take people away is what surprised me was when I moved to Sri Lanka. I guess I assumed there was nothing here in terms of menopause and help. What I've since found is there is a menopause society of Sri Lanka, and whereas it's not in the same vein as some of the ones that you might find in the States or the UK or some other countries, it's still a really good place to start to find maybe some doctors in your host countries that are on board with awareness and being able to support what's available in country, and both with awareness, with medications, what's available. I know it's slightly different for those on posts, have different access to different medications. But I was not surprised to find, but I went online before our chat, Susie, just to see which countries do have menopausal societies that maybe have a register of doctors that are on that board. And it was nearly every single one I typed in. So
wow.
But he is in a host country, wants to get more information. It's a good place to start. Just find the doctors' names and maybe go and speak to them first if anybody does want to do that. And I think that was the big one for me, is how much there actually was out there in all of these different countries that I just typed in random countries, and nearly every single one of them had a menopause society. So I think that's a good one to take away, especially for your community on here, because every country will be different. And I think I can help with pointing people in directions, and I'd love it if anybody wants to get in touch to say, where can I find information on my personal journey, because everybody's different. There's lots of different websites and doctors and apps and podcasts and all sorts of things that you can listen to, and it is a minefield out there. So I'm more than I like to call myself a signposter. So I'm more than happy to signpost anybody that wants to know more information, whether it's a condition that you already have. I've researched quite a lot of things. Menopause, if you suffer from obesity, it can be quite endometriosis, if you have diabetes, if you've had any specific surgeries, if you're young and you think you've gone through early menopause, surgically enhanced, all of those, there's all sorts of different places that you can get information and advice. And so I'm happy to share my research and signposting if anybody wants to get in touch.
Thank you, Michelle. I hope this conversation has been helpful for those of you listening. I foresee us inviting Michelle back very soon, because this has been a very enlightening and entertaining and educational conversation. Thank you so much, Michelle. We'll post all of these things, as well as link some of the recent articles that have come out in the notes, and also include Michelle's email. So thank you so much for joining us. We will see you again for next week's podcast. Thank you.